Welcome to our recap of Team 25. This is at least some combination of the Australian and New Zealand communities, plus Pune from the sounds of things, plus Bangkok, hopefully, although I don't see any of them joined at the moment, which points to some technical issues, but we'll see where we get to. It's very much kind of sort of playback for those of us who are lucky enough to be in Anaheim to go through some key messages. There's a bundle of online opportunities for you to catch up with various Team 25 things that we can share some links to as well. But it was just a kind of tour things as we go. I'm thrilled to have some of my colleagues from various elements of what is now ASEAN Champions with me. So I'm going to be covering off a little bit of the overview of system of work, Rovo, some of the big kind of keynote messages from Team 25. I will then hand over to Irina, who is in some combination of New Zealand or the Gold Coast, depending on what her travel schedule says. And some of the Jira service management outings. And then hopefully some combination of Chris and Jeff will cover off the best of the rest, marketplaces, government clouds, all sorts of other things as we go. We'll aim for about 45 minutes, but if it starts to get awkwardly quiet, we can finish earlier. And if it's going a bit longer as well as we go. So hopefully that's useful for everyone. Feel free to put things in the chat, and we have a volunteer moderator haven't planned for and is super welcome. So he will jump in and field some stuff as we go. Okay, so just a kind of like a brief kind of mention of the start of this section that I'll kind of go through. If any of you have missed over the past 18 months or so, Atlassian's been sort of slowly or rapidly in some cases pivoting away individual products like Jira and Confluence to talking about having their system of work overall, and that continued loads at Team 25. Irina will go into what that means in terms of collections during her section, I suspect, I know, but it also kind of impacts when we were talking about the keynotes and the overall narrative from Mike Cannon-Brooks and people. Now, system of work overall, Atlassian talks about it as a philosophy. I always use the word approach because I feel philosophy is a bit loaded as a kind of promise around things. But it's got 4 kind of central tenets, and actually they quietly iterated these between Team 24 in the last few months and Team 25. And I'll flag to you, and some of the other champions can let me know if they know when it happened, the kind of change. So the first 3 are basically the same kind of levels of guidance that I think work whether you're talking about a team or an enterprise or an organization. The first bit of the approach is aligning work to goals. And as we go through these, you should sort of go like, oh yeah, I could see how that would happen in an Atlassian product or even a non-Atlassian product. But they are designed to be sort of somewhat agnostic of that. So first thing is aligning work, second is planning and tracking work, and the third is unleashing knowledge. And the idea is that if you're on a successful team or in a successful organization, you should see some true to make things happen. The last one, and this is new for the Team 25 visuals, is they spoke about making AI part of the team. To Rovo and the big changes in a second, this is really kind of salient there. But this is actually a shift. So they sort of smooshed the previous 4 into the first 3, and they've this one about making AI part of the team, which I think is very welcome. It like, means things have a proper home, but it's a good one to reference. Now, the other thing that came up was this visual, which I did. It was one of those ones where I saw people taking loads of photos with their cameras and with their phones in the screen, and it basically gives you this overview sort of view of the Atlassian ecosystem. Now, you'll notice that in common with the last 3, 5, 8 years, generally, it's all about the cloud. And whilst there was some kind of announcements around data center and on-premise things at Team 25, it is still basically all about the cloud. So if you're working in an organization that is not on Atlassian cloud, the message still there is like, think about moving that, think about changing that, because essentially none of the exciting whizzy bits is coming there. And what you can see here, and this will connect a bit with what Arena goes through in collections, is that they've got 4 sorts of teams identified at a high level: service teams, software teams, product teams, and leadership teams. And the idea is that you've got Atlassian products that match up to each of these. They also shifted the wording. So depending on where you've looked, these have previously been called products or some other kind of terms, but they're being called apps everywhere now as well, which will be interesting. And I can believe that that might shift back and forth a few times. I'm not going to say that they also speak about platform search and chat and other things, but the idea is that Jira, Confluence, Compass, all of the things that match up to these kind of teams. And in the middle, corresponding to the teamwork foundations kind of system of work, you've got the sort of core everyone should use. That's comprised of Confluence with the little things here, Jira, and Loom. And it was very interesting to see Loom as a tool kind of graduate in maturity and be kind of sensitive around things there as we go. I've noticed that Bangkok definitely isn't here as well, so we'll see if they join us in a moment. Now, at the core of things, you've got Rovo being highlighted here, and arguably the most significant announcement of Team 25, a slightly poorly kept secret, is that Rovos, I think there's going to be all sorts of edge cases and nuances to what this means, but it's free, standard, and above tiers is the most kind of reliable definition that I can see anywhere with things. So most of you who are using Atlassian cloud products and paying for it, which is most people, will get some version of Rovo. This is around they're calling AI credits, so usage restrictions, so like how much Rovo each of your teams can go through, all of those nuances in the school, because this is kind of an overview, but it's very, very exciting from the perspective of those who are not able to get Rovo previously, but no charge, and now want to get up. If you haven't used Rovo, you can get a sandbox and you can talk to your local community lead for access. If you're coming to Agile in Wonderland or have been to one, we've given you sandboxes as well. If you've never used it, you can basically think of it as like the Atlassian kind of Copilot equivalent, and it's super powerful. So this is really, really exciting from our perspective generally. So yeah, that's a nice overview kind of visual to use as part of things too. Let's see what this was the breakdown of the Atlassian Cloud Platform, and it includes some of those apps that I spoke about. So they're referring to the Rovo chat, and I think this is the studio icon from Remember, and then search powered by Rovo as well. And the key thing that they're pushing as part of all of the Rovo announcements is the other apps, so third-party services. So the idea is once you've got Rovo enabled for your organization, you don't just stop with having Confluence, Jira, and things plugged in. You also plug in your Google Docs and your SharePoint and all sorts of other things as well. And last time I checked, there was about 50 connectors live for Rovo, something like that. So there is a bundle of awesome things that you can connect to as part of stuff. Now, a core part of the platform message is that underneath all of those and the ones on the previous page, and this page is the Debrief, i.e. the data layer of everything. And when I'm talking to people about why it's kind of interesting that you're using the Atlassian one in Copilot or GPC or something, the key sell here is that this teamwork graph is opinionated. So it understands what data from a GPC and how that might connect to your user identities and how that connects to goals as well. Bottom, you've got enterprise infrastructure. Very surprised if Jeff doesn't talk government cloud and data in his section, but effectively you've got a whole host of Atlassian promises here about how usable this cloud platform is for all sorts of businesses. So if you are a branch of government or a big bank or in the healthcare sector, there's lots of standards that are really important for you as part of that cloud. So you've got this sort of, it's a bit of a cake, or it looks like a burger with this kind of color coding in Athens as well. Okay, the new platform apps that they spoke about, or the changes we went through. So Home has been live for a while now, and if you've logged in, you may have noticed things. Goals have been live for a while now. If you're an Atlassian vintage person, I see Anton here and a few others. You will have known this as Atlas. There's enhancements in the functionality, but we're basically talking about the same thing. Teams has been live for a while. I will try, or in fact, I might let Arena talk about talent a little bit when she's talking about collections, but there are some changes in future products there as well. Search, Chat, and Studio we've been about. Studio, from my limited experience, is very good experience for anyone who's played around with that. And then Analytics and Admin are there as they've been for a while. So you've got some changes in kind of general release. What was new in terms, we've hinted at this already or covered a little bit already, but it's basically that it's now free for bundled in or included, might be a better way to describe it, for a whole host of people. So if you haven't used Rovo yet, now's a really great opportunity to do it. The breakdown of Rovo kind of goes into, so first of all, it's search. And the real sell here is it's about enabling you to bring Insight's not tools, but the other third-party apps that you connect is your ability to use it in a GPT-like fashion. So you ask questions and things. If you haven't considered creating an agent yet, this is a really good kind of cue to do it, and it's something I'm doing with lots of organizations. And then the studio is the place where you do that agent creation, so do things there. Rovo Search looks a little bit like this. I won't spend ages on each of these visuals because I'm keen to get you to Arena, but we'll share some links, and there's all sorts of lovely users as well. But you've got those connectors. You actually have it as a browser extension in Chromium-based browsers, so you can have Rovo embedded, and you can use lots of platform-related things like app mentions. The chat looks a bit like this, as I said before, and no surprise to anyone who's been using chat-based AI interfaces for a while now. I think the general direction that I would say around here is look forward to seeing all sorts of continual enhancement. So much as how I see with OpenAI's products, you log in and there's something new each week. That's also the case for Rovo. So if you haven't used it, now that it's free, hopefully you'll get an opportunity to do those things. I also, and I forgot about this, announced Deep Research. I'm not sure if this is live yet, so if anyone knows, feel free to paste it in the chat. Much as with other, there's now going to be this capability to give Rovo a task and it can go away and search for a greater depth of knowledge. I've used this lots in GPT, so I'm quite excited about what this will mean for Rovo, and really, really good for when your next step will be something like creating a wiki page. So I want Rovo to go away and do research for you, then help you create a briefing document for your teams. Rovo Studio is that chat-based area where you can make things, and you'll see that they've bundled together not only agents, but talking about things like automation. So it gives a nice kind of home. That'd be interesting. And one little thing for the data center crew. So I stand by my analysis that all the sexy stuff is on cloud generally, but for people, you've got a foot in both doors, so you have some footprint on cloud, but you've still got some teams or some areas of the organization in data center. Confluence and Jira connectors are at some degree of maturity. Confluence now and data center coming soon. So that means if you've got an organization where you've got a bit of a mix of data and the information from your on-premise systems in, so that the team can do things like ask Rovo for a view across the organization. Useful for some segments of people. And this was the kind of slide on the pricing of things. Okay. What's new in terms of all teams? Confluence during Loom, there was a host of small changes and things. Notice that as you go through the app areas, there's some mention of specific agents. So Rena may cover some of this in her section, but Rovo's across the platform. That means that you can get a sense of like the agents that are responsible for each area. And I think that's swiftly going to come to the end of my. So we've included a list of some of the high-level feature updates on this page. I won't jump into them loads. Is that live docs beta, and I'm starting to use this with my teams. In many ways, it just feels like how Confluence should be these days, but it just means key pages are much more live and much rather than something you kind of check in and publish. And for those of you that haven't used Loom yet, definitely have a play with that because there's all sorts of things there as well. I actually ended up introducing Loom to one of my old high school friends in LA after Anaheim, and she's a fashion designer who started using it for like curating her weekly notes to herself. She was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" I think everyone should have a go with Loom, and especially if you've got a distributed team, it actually genuinely starts to make a big difference to your ability to write. So we've got goodness there. Okay, that's my little summary of things, broadly on time, I think. I will hand over to Irina to talk about collections and JSM.
Thanks, Kate. What's the best way? Do you want to just drive it and try and share the screen? I think you need to stop sharing for me to start sharing. It doesn't allow it.
Let's try.
See if it works for me.
Oh, and I see we do have Bangkok. We have Chris from the beach. So well done, Chris, for making it. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, yeah. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. All right, so let's get into it. So you've heard Kate talking about all sorts of different now focus area for Atlassian platform. So again, you'll be seeing this wording all over the place, but the first one that I want to cover is what's called Teamwork Collection. And it's something that's already available for you guys to explore and quote for. So essentially, it's generally available. It's a collection of Jira and Confluence and it includes Loom as well. What we need to confirm, I think it's Loom, the one that is actually business, so Loom Premium, but it has at its core a bunch of raw teamwork agents, and I think that what actually sets all of those different collections that I'm going to cover aside, right? So it's not just Atlassian apps, but the agents that come with those collections as well. So what does it mean for you guys? If you within the organization that coming to the renewal of your individual products like Confluence or Jira, and you're interested in purchasing Loom, might be a good idea to talk to your partner or talk to Atlassian directly and just see what the pricing is going to be if you were to switch to Teamwork Collection. So the quoting for this is somewhat getting there, not quite there yet. But essentially, what it does, it unlocks the power of your collaboration using AI and using the Rover at its center. And as part of it, we've got AI for meetings. So you've got special aids that allow you basically take notes. And we've got all sorts of different tools that we've used in the past, right? We've got Google Meets, we've got Otter, but this is all sitting within your Atlassian toolset. So data doesn't go anywhere, well, beyond what Atlassian is allowing AI to do. But what it does, it can create conference pages right after your meeting that you can continue collaborate on. So that's really cool. We're already using it. I highly recommend this. The next team that we're looking at is what's happening in the business and leadership teams. So the new apps that become now basically focus for the leadership, and the pans intended is focus talent, and we're bringing Jira Line in there as well. As you can see, it also comes with Rover strategy agents, and this whole thing is now branded as strategy collection. Focus, the app that's been available for a beta for probably the last 6 months, is now generally available. So that means that you can request a trial. Now, the focus is something that you can extend your current platform goal level planning into. And we had a couple of customers looking at it and basically evaluating whether there's a good area for the leadership team to start trialing it. It really starts shining when you plug in talent and Jira Line there, because in Focus, what you can do is basically set up the focus area and hierarchy of different focus areas, and then define how those focus areas are being developed and delivered. So this is where the goals come in. Since the goals are available across all different platform apps, you'll be able to set the goals and then link your focus areas to those goals. So think of it, here's the direction and how we're going to actually achieve this. These are the key results. These are the goals that we're setting. Now, the Jira work and Jira Align, this is where you're tracking your delivery in. So have a look, talk to your partners, talk to Atlassian directly. Essentially, this is not anymore someone else's presentation, which is static, but it's a living dynamic plan that might allow your leadership team to track work together. So the talent that's plugging the hole, which is right now missing from Atlassian tools, even with the apps that are present on Marketplace, that gives you or promises to give instant visibility into your workforce and their priorities. So what are they assigned to? Where do they sit geographically? What other talent we are missing? Where are the gaps? So there also comes with a lot of recommendations from AI, which hopefully makes it smarter in terms of decisions. And talent given flag if you need specialist skills and where they might be located. So again, comes with its own talent agents and promises to transform the workforce operation. So Jira Line, that's for some organizations wasn't that affordable. Now, as part of the strategy collection, can actually be purchased on 50 seats, which is exciting. So it will unlock for a lot of leadership teams or a lot of organizations that are following some of the specific frameworks that Jira Line is supporting. to actually start bringing those three things together. Yeah. So not quite there yet. You can't get all three of them, I think. So the focus available, but the entire strategy collection includes a line with no additional costs. The next team that we're looking at is services teams. And again, comes with a bunch of robo agents, but specifically the things that we released there is human resource service management templates. So they've always been there, and you might not yet see it on your instance because they're still slowly rolling it out. But now you've got, I think, almost 30 pre-built templates, starting from employee onboarding and offboarding to everything in between. So you've got all sorts of different things that are already predefined for you, the forms. And what does AI give you as part of this? You can actually use natural language to describe what you want if the templates or types of requests that you want your HR team to track is not sufficient, and it can generate those request types for you. It was part of GSM in the past already, but now they kind of rolled it out for HRSM specifically. So they also are talking about the restriction of access to sensitive employee forms. Again, it's not necessarily a very new feature. We worked with that before, but now again, HR team is fully enabled to actually build their service management portal themselves. They not necessarily need to rely on admins to do that. Let's have a look at the next one. So the new product, the customer service management product, now is in beta. And what's the difference there? So it's not just a new set of templates, and it's not just a feature that you enable within GSM. I don't know if you guys used it in the past, but it's a whole new set of features that comes as a standalone product. So CSM, and again, a little bit of a confusing name. It's a brand new app. And what Atlassian did, they identified that like almost 30%, 25% of their customers already using GSM purely for customer support and bypassing all sorts of other features of service management. So again, at the core of this, they've got robot chat widget. So not necessarily something new, but this is definitely a highlight for customers that are evaluating Jira or Atlassian tools for their customer-facing needs. We've had a lot of customers comparing it with Zendesk, with Freshdesk, with all sorts of things. ServiceNow that already had the chat and intelligent chat built in. And basically at the time, there was about a couple of years saying like, no, we're not going to go with GSM because it's lacking exactly this functionality. So that's very exciting. What can they see? So if your team's interacting with the customer, they obviously, like with the GSM, can see all the ongoing incidents and changes. So it still has this integration. If something's been deployed and incident was raised against it, you can see what happened, all the similar past issues and so on, and related bugs in the development backlog. So even though it's a standalone app, it's still connected to overall platform through the teamwork graph. So again, it's a beta. We're going to share a link to sign up, and you can see a little screenshot video how cool the little chat widget is. In terms of other innovations that AI bring for specifically service teams, so now the promise is that you can get help from anywhere. So whether using in Slack, Teams, or directly in your portal, in your language, you can basically get help with the AI chats there. So the agents, they're able to analyze sentiment of the request. You can prioritize your requests more efficiently based on different criteria that you choose. Can be urgency, can be tone, and proactively recommend the subject matter experts and stuff like this. On top of that, what's available is reduction of manual effort and auto creation of incidents. And again, you kind of could have done it now with automation, but the promise here is that's much more available, can be accessible to anyone on the team. Yep. So the next one, I'm very aware that I'm going really, really fast because we have a lot to cover. So feel free to post questions if I'm going too fast and I'm missing something that you guys want to zoom in. The next team that we want to have a look at is the software team. So for dev teams, really what we want to cover here is the capabilities that Rover Dev is bringing them. So this is all about turbocharging the productivity for the engineers. That's the language that we're using. So what we're seeing here, we've got a number of examples here. So so we can use RoboDev agents to eliminate all of this back and forth conversations. Now, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So when developers assign a task, a RoboDev can be used to enrich all the items that related to that task, so all the relevant documentation, whatever you've got in your knowledge base, including step-by-step breakdown. So developers actually have everything that they need to do. So the famous definition of ready. You can even automatically generate working code. So that's my development team already looking at it. So we'll see what they come up with. But essentially, you can turn a Jira ticket directly into working code yet to be tested, but we'll report back later. And the thing that I'm most excited is basically fixes validation and code review. So this is the things that normally is a bottleneck because a lot of our senior developers or intermediate developers might be really busy, but there are some fixes to code reviews that actually can be done if the definition of task is clear. So that's my personal favorite. But what Atlassian's reporting is that once they started using Rover Dev, they had 45% improvement in their PR cycle time. Woohoo. Staying with the software teams, so Jira Product Discovery, if you're not yet using it, probably the most favorite product or app from Atlassian. And what Atlassian is introducing now is a premium version there. So you get better roadmap visibility, you've got better permissions, so more granular permissions. And so it's actually enabling a bit of a governance there of your data. And again, all it does is supporting the need for us to be aligned and see this unified roadmaps in one place. Again, it supports the roadmaps that span across multiple teams and projects and helps our stakeholders to be on one page. In terms of how it links, and I think you should be able to see it here, you were already able to include goals from the platform into your roadmaps and link them to ideas. It was a little bit awkward. So I'm looking forward to a more streamlined way of doing it. So again, it's understanding the real business impact, not the subjective kind of assessment of it, but how we're connecting your ideas to strategic goals and how it all links together. Overall, again, going back to what Keith said in the beginning, we've got this, plethora of amazing apps available to us that cover or promise to cover all the different teams that sit in this organization building that Atlassian Vision. I think they shared that picture with us in the beginning of the year. But so what we covered, we've got Teamwork Collection available for you guys to play with. We've got Strategy Collection for leadership teams, Focus, Talent, and Jira Align, and a number of changes that I've covered for software and service teams. I think that's from me. I'm going to check the chat because I know that Caroline had to rush off to the airport for questions.
If you think of questions, come follow through. I think Chris and I are next up. Chris, you've got the 100 deck slide deck ready to go. You look like you're all right.
No slide deck will compete with my beach view, so I don't need it. I'm just here for vibes, man. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
Well, so why don't we? So Rena, can you stop sharing? And don't have any decks. So because we're doing the rest. So what that means is Chris and I are going to make stuff up. Okay, so first off, Kit said earlier, government cloud. So when we're thinking about government cloud, who thinks we're talking about the Australian government cloud or the Thai government cloud? Because we ain't. We're talking US government cloud. It's FedRAMP. It's going to really only be for the US government and US government suppliers. So I don't want to spend too much on it, but it is useful to spend a little bit of time because then we can talk about isolated cloud, which is something I think a lot of organizations will be interested in. So first off, it is, think of it as federal government cloud. It's got more compliance in there. I think it was saying earlier around the amount of work Atlassian has put into this solution to basically say this is a community cloud for the federal government of the US. So that means they know who's going to be using it. There's going to be some sort of vetting process. It's going to be high compliance standards to jump on board to it. That's not to say that there's not at the moment with Atlassian's cloud, but this takes it to a new level. So one thing I'll just put a little bit of a plug in. Atlassian has finalised their IRAP assessment for, that's the Australian government standard for protected. So that's really important for those in Australia, and I know a lot of government entities overseas also will look for that standard and that little tick. But that's on the current Atlassian cloud available to everyone. Federal government cloud, minimal use. Isolated cloud is if you're an organization which has a large user base and you currently can't go to cloud because of you've got some limitations there that it has to be really restricted down. There can not be any sharing of components, etc. inside the solution. Isolated cloud is for you. That is coming. Now, Chris, also Arena has got a bit of experience, and I've got a little bit as well in regards to Atlassian Marketplace apps. And the Atlassian Marketplace apps going and sitting inside of the current Atlassian cloud, everyone knows and loves, they can be various different sort of technologies sitting on there. Atlassian's really been encouraging marketplace vendors to create Forge apps, which means it's hosted within the Atlassian infrastructure. And we can sort of see where that is as we're looking further along. Basically, they're looking at trying to keep all the information within the Atlassian ecosystem, Atlassian infrastructure. So no egress out or ingress. So runs on Atlassian is a new badge we're going to be seeing in case it hasn't already out there, I'm not sure. But what we're going to be seeing is app vendors who that are currently on the Atlassian cloud, but are not running on Forge or aren't Forge apps, or they do have that egress or ingress via, via some other mechanism. What's going to happen is they're going to be re-looking and creating possibly a new offering. There is a couple of other things there, but would you say, Arena, Chris, would you have any commentary on that?
I mean, the Forge has been not just encouraged, but kind of made clear that Connect is dying and quickly. We've seen the writing on the wall for that. It's kind of, bad news for those that were sticking their head in the sand and hoping to survive on Connect as long as possible. But it's also just good to have clear message. Atlassian's forging forwards. And so, yeah, best be prepared for that future. It's coming soon. I've even had, I work for Remy, who, for those that don't know him, is famously outspoken and critic of all things Atlassian. And even he's come around this year to, okay, guys, we're migrating to Forge. So I think he was one of the last stickers in the mud. So it's coming. It's good. Like you, I was very impressed to see the different cloud versions. I think it's what's necessary because it's great for Atlassian to say cloud, cloud, cloud. But obviously cloud for a defense company or cloud for a government agency is a very different proposition, and it has its own unique constraints and needs and requirements. So very exciting to see. Just in general, the whole vibe because that's hard to capture with the bullet points of what was learning. It's great to see Mike more engaged, involved, excited, positive. And I think the Williams Racing sponsorship actually makes sense. The keynote was superb. And likewise with everything we've seen, it's nice to see it just with a clear package and a clear strategy. Before, Atlassian would do things like acquire Jira Line and just say, yep, this is for enterprise now. Okay, but things like the 50 user tier means that there's an on-ramp that actually makes sense for users. So it now feels finally like they're connecting the dots. A few years ago, there were flashes of brilliance, but there wasn't quite a coherent plan. Now there really is. And although, there are some casualties in that, some of the Connect vendors will be struggling. I've had some great chats with Atlassian where I realized that, they now have a vision for the future and they're moving towards it purposefully. Likewise for marketplace vendors, good news is for those that felt like Atlassian Ventures, where Atlassian lend money, that was kind of not really investing in much and put on pause. I had a good chat and they admitted that the senior leadership team had been rejigged and some key people had left, but that's now back in place and running up to speed. So yeah, just generally I would say the vibes were very positive, and even things like AI, which I've been quite skeptical of, I am starting to become a believer. And you think if ChatGPT is trained on Reddit data and Grok is trained on Twitter data, I think there's a lot of smart people writing a lot of good things in Confluence. And so I can only imagine how useful that will be as an assistant plugging into your workflow. So really exciting updates. One final thought from me for now. I'd really recommend the Jira Live's interview with Mike Cannon-Brooks. I think of all the keynotes you could watch, I think that chat was a really great, a bit nerdy, bit inside baseball, but really got to the heart of a lot of Atlassian users' concerns and questions. And Mike was incredibly candid. And like I say, just good to see him involved and excited again for the future.
Yeah, I got to admit, I think it was an hour and a half. So I sort of got part way through it. And then, have to find more time. Look, I want to quickly, before I go on for some more comments, Irina, just on the marketplace apps as an app vendor as well. Have you got any commentary on that? What's your around the Forge and the market, etc.?
Yeah. Really good question. So Forge been developing, I think, their APIs to allow us as marketplace vendors to actually build something meaningful on it. So that's good to see that it's really getting there, because even 2 years ago, we wouldn't be able to recreate what we have now on kind of a hybrid setting. Now the message is clear, and a lot of the platforms that marketplace vendors build based on previous technology need to be replaced. So what it means is that there will be a lot of operational excellence work within a lot of marketplace vendors companies trying to catch up with how things should be done, which kind of gives or supposed to give customers a bit of a comfort, because what we've seen and what we've heard from customers is that they would want to choose the apps that on a certain level. So either it's SOC 2 compliance or that and that and that and that. So the more we're talking to enterprise people, the more we're selling to enterprise organizations, the higher the standard will be. And hopefully Atlassian will be able to support us there. In terms of the niches that are left for marketplace app vendors, that's an interesting one. So as you see right now, Atlassian's basically saying that, we're not going to develop this as a feature of the product, but he is the Rover agent for this. So I see that a lot of the gaps are going to be plugged as we go within those different collections, potentially by just release or suggested use of Rover. So that makes it very interesting for a lot of marketplace vendors on how they're going to actually make business and how they're going to create new apps going forward.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting, and we've only got one app on the marketplace at the moment, but we've got 3 under development, and certainly, we're already on the Forge journey, but we deal with government, deal with enterprise, so we've already we know when we're having those conversations, and we don't have the legacy of the old ones. But I'm certainly when at Team 25 I was having chats to marketplace vendors who are well known. They're going, we are going to shift, like Remy's comment, it's got to be done by Team 26, or it's got to be done by this end of this year. And, you know, we're just seeing it from enterprise customers, just very, very frustrated with the whole, I've got to get a separate security assessment for this app, etc. So hopefully they're looking forward to rely on more of Atlassians. I do want to switch over and just talk about some of the other things that we've got there. So scaling wise, so other improvements, 100,000 users for Jira users now can be on one site. That's that's good. Not for everyone, but certainly for some larger ones. And the more customers on the cloud, the more investment for those that are on there. So that's going to help get some of those larger ones across. 2 million assets. So seeing an investment in the assets feature. I think what's been happening is there's been work on the assets functionality, which has meant the assets data manager integration into assets has sort of been held up by that. So that was the AirTracks product, where it's very keen on that, working and integrating better. So we're looking forward to that happening. A couple of things I want to mention around Studio, which was the linking of tools between so Rovo agents and the apps, and then seeing how it links. So what do I mean by that? It's probably easiest by sort of trying to channel Mike in his on the keynotes and that was, he was saying, right, we've got a researcher who currently spends half an hour with an interview, but they then spend 45 minutes going through and I'm getting the time out. So great efficiency thing here, Kit, is that by doing a Loom AI meeting, so having a meeting, Loom AI or meetings connected up through to that, then give a summary. That summary can then put added to a Confluence page, can also get sent over to Slack, but then also updated into the CRM. So being able to coordinate with multiple Rovo agents, multiple AI, etc. Now they're saying they're sort of cutting that down from say 45 minutes down to of post-meeting write-ups to something like 5. I'm a lot more conservative on this stuff. I think that you want to make sure that the quality is there afterwards. So maybe if it cuts it down by half, that would be awesome. So I think that's the sort of stuff with the linking up through of those is really, really good. Okay, is there any more questions? Because apparently Kit's saying it's stop.
It was more so I gave you some like sort of background posts. Thanks, Jeff. We weren't sure whether we'd filled 45 minutes, so evidently we can when given the. Please do put any kind of links, put questions in the chat. For anyone that has to leave, we'll make sure to put a post with the recording for this and key things that got mentioned. I've been trying to keep track of things on our LinkedIn profile for the Australia New Zealand community, and hopefully Chris can repost that as well. If we lose anyone, thank you hugely to our presenters. Yeah, cobble things together with an appropriate degree of quickness after Anaheim and time to assemble material. So thank you to everyone there. If you do want to hang, it looks like at least Jeff will be hanging around on probably a couple of the rest of us as well. So thank you all so much.
Okay, are there any questions? Because I'm sure, one of the things about Team 25 is, yes, there's lots of any team, there's lots of announcements, but it's actually all the chats on that you have outside and the events, the side events, etc., that take place, which I find really useful being part of the ecosystem, learning lots. So Kit, sounds like you're going to jump off. Is that right? Is there any questions that anyone's got?
I have another thought. Obviously still welcoming the questions, but I noticed that Atlassian is investing big in community. So the real emphasis for the community meetup is not just rebranding them as champions, but making it clear like that's absolutely crucial to Atlassian's marketing strategy going forwards. And so, yeah, to anyone listening who's considering running an Atlassian community event in their city, you will be handsomely rewarded. You will not only get to meet Mike Cannon-Brooks, but you'll be celebrated, lauded, sent loads of free swag. Atlassian really are investing heavily in their communities. So, yeah, for everyone that gets involved in this sort of thing, thank you, and you are appreciated. And anyone that's considering it, yeah, it's a big task to go alone, but if you can find a team of useful people, it is a fun time, and you will be rewarded by backstage passes to Star Wars, which was incredibly fun.
I just wish I could have gone to that. I did actually go with Kit, and he purchased something, and I was asking him, are you going to be wearing that for this session? He said he forgot, he left it at home. So we'll see what he comes up with next time. I do have a photo, but anyway. Any final notes from you, Irina?
No, I think I just want to echo what Chris said. I've been on the ACE events before, but this time, so Atlassian Champions, how it's rebranded now, remember? And the encouragement is that there will be whole pathway available only to the customers. So Atlassian Champions within organizations will be supported like, I don't remember it, and I've been around for many years, like before. So there will be people working with you, upskilling you, supporting you, running events. We are here to support you all as well, guys, and hold your hands when need be. But this is essentially our job. I guess that will be the message from me. So from the veterans of Atlassian community, seeing new people stepping up and growing within organizations, yeah, that would be my personal mission for this year. Yeah.
Indeed. Okay. Well, we have had no questions, so we might leave it there then, unless
it's a sign of a perfect presentation, Jeff. Like we've left no questions unanswered.
Well, I think you're just so scary, mate. All right then. Thank you, everyone. Much appreciated. This will be made available. Kit does a wonderful thing with his editing to get it all available and uploaded. I encourage all Atlassian champions to get Kit to do that.
Ciao, ciao. Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
See you guys. Great job, everyone. Thanks for joining. Pleasure.